Let's talk about Kenobi episode 4, huh? Before we jump into this specific episode, I actually did tweet something on my personal account talking about why seeing Kenobi the way we have up until this episode works. I guess I need to preface it with works for me versus what we've seen with Luke in The Last Jedi. My key word on that, the really simple thing, is visual storytelling. We have an entire trilogy of young Kenobi, young Anakin, Padme's relationship with Anakin, just everything going on with Anakin's growth and his desire to want more, and just Palpatine manipulating him and kind of getting his claws on him at a young age. And then we get Revenge of the Sith, where we see Order 66 completely play out. We see Jedi getting murdered. We see Anakin Skywalker turn to the dark side, help Palpatine get rid of Mace Windu. And then Obi-Wan has to go fight Anakin. And then we see the impact that him turning dark has on Padme. We see Obi-Wan saying those lines about, "You are my brother, Anakin. You were supposed to defeat the Sith, not join them." And Anakin screaming back at him like, "I hate you." There's so much visual storytelling to support Obi-Wan being weak. And the fact that he has spent 10 years on this harsh desert planet with no training, no lightsaber, his saber was buried in the sand. I think that's where expectations get people into trouble. Because it's like, oh, Obi-Wan and Vader are gonna fight again. It's gonna be amazing. And it's like, that first fight was exactly what it should have been. That was the first time he pulled out his saber in 10 years. Vader's been like training and building up for these 10 years. He could have just crushed him in a second if he really wanted to, and he didn't. And we'll obviously talk about that as we get through this. But everything we're seeing with Obi-Wan makes total sense because of all the visual storytelling that we got from the prequels. The connections, the emotion, the impact, all of that stuff, the relationships that we have as fans with these characters. On the flip side with Luke, words and dialogue's not visual storytelling. You can't tell me, oh hey, Luke went through this, it was really horrible. Like, no. That doesn't work. If we're gonna get a major character shift, which Kenobi, that's a big character shift from his peak to what he is now, and then with Luke from Return of the Jedi to The Last Jedi, there's a big shift. Huge shift in character. So the idea that we got like a couple week flashbacks, it's not enough. So that's why I really believe this version of Obi-Wan makes total sense and why I'm all about it. I'm all for it. As we see in this episode, he starts building back up with the Force. He's getting his mojo back. And by the end of these 6 episodes, I'm hopeful that we're going to get a massive fight. It's going to be the one that everyone really wants. It's going to blow everyone away. That's at least my expectation going in, which again could be very dangerous. But let's jump right into episode 4. Kind of overall thoughts. I thought, just like every episode, it had its good and it had its bad. This episode might have had more really bad than some of the other episodes. Overall, I thought it was okay. The bad is bad and the good was awesome. And I think it's something that the show is 100% suffering from. There's some good, some bad in every episode. And I'm going to hold my overall criticism like I'm officially in the camp of I don't have a good feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I'm a little nervous. I mean, we only have 2 episodes to go. I don't know what is going to happen in these last 2 episodes, but I'm going to hold my complete opinions and thoughts to destroy everything until it's over. If it goes the way these previous 4 have gone, I'm going to be upset because Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, that era is like my favorite time in Star Wars. I love the original trilogy more than anything. I love the prequels very much, but jumping into this episode, it starts with Obi-Wan in a bacta tank healing from the burns. I feel like there was a missed opportunity here to give us some emotional, heartfelt flashbacks with Obi-Wan and Anakin from either the Clone Wars, even if it is the prequels, regardless of what it is, give us some really heavy, hard-hitting emotional flashbacks there. The track record with Boba Fett having flashbacks and having vision, I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to give us some really hard-hitting, because the one thing this show has been lacking has been emotion. I haven't felt the emotion. I haven't felt any moments being like getting those tingly feelings. I thought the first time Obi-Wan and Vader would come face to face, I thought we would get some really heartfelt emotional dialogue. I haven't felt that yet. So we jump into Leia being interrogated by Reva. This whole interrogation thing is a little weird. She's 10 years old. It's not like she's Princess Leia from A New Hope, where she has all this really detailed information about this resistance and the safe house at the Jedi's. Like, these detailed questions, I just don't understand it. And, Reva calls him Obi-Wan to Leia. We meet O'Shea Jackson's character, which I don't know where his character is going to go, but initially right off the bat, it's really cool seeing him. Expectation setting. Quinlan Voss's name was mentioned in the last episode. Everyone, I saw speculation like, oh, he's going to be Quinlan Voss. It's like, no, wasn't Quinlan Voss. We'll see who he is, and we'll see what impact he has on this show in these last 2 episodes. He talks about having like a Force-sensitive wife being taken by the Inquisitors and talking about how he understands what the Empire is capable of. They find the fortress, they make a plan to get in. Talia helps with the Imperial access, because of course she does. Kenobi gets in the Inquisitor base, no problem, using the same little underwater breathing apparatus that he used in the prequels, which is kind of fun. But he takes out the single trooper at the entrance. Seems a little easy to get into the Inquisitor base. I don't know, just felt a little simple, but it is what it is. It's Obi-Wan. He sneaks around well. He's great at stealth. Yes, the fortress has been broken into twice now. So maybe at some point they'll up their security. But Tala's talking on the comm device around other Imperials. She made her way through. Not weird at all, just kind of sitting here whispering into a comm device, which they clearly don't question or listen to each other, which, fine. She ends up getting pulled away because she's not at her station. And then we see Kenobi again sneaking around, very much like A New Hope. And he's speaking into a comm device that's left behind, which I feel like is another callback to the original trilogy, because we see that happening in the original movie in A New Hope. So kind of enjoying the like very small subtle callbacks. I think it's kind of fun. Kenobi tricks a couple troopers with the Force, makes a little sound. He does that also in A New Hope. As you kind of see him through this episode kind of growing with the Force, he's getting more powerful, he's getting his mojo back. And I very much enjoy seeing that aspect of this episode. And we got more Reva talking to Leia. Reva's trying to like convince, like, hey, we're all on the same side. Well, it's like, well, then let me call my dad since we're all on the same side. She gets outsmarted by a 10-year-old. I mean, Leia is very smart. Reva takes her to the interrogation room, straps her up to the device that looks very similar to the one that Han dealt with in Empire Strikes Back. And then we're back with Obi-Wan. He enters this, essentially like this tomb trophy room of dead Jedi, which pretty insane kind of visual. There was speculation that there's potentially Mace Windu somewhere in the background, and if that was Mace Windu back there, that's pretty lame to do that without having Obi-Wan be like, holy shit, Mace Windu, like what? Like, you can't have him there and have Obi-Wan walking down looking at every single one of them and then suddenly being like, you just can't have him in the background. But there's rumors that he's back there. Tala creates a diversion to help save Leia, lies to Reva about where the Jedi safe house is. Another moment Reva could have just used her power. Yes, I did skip the part where Leia blocked Reva's mind control ability, which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like it initially. I know Leia's the daughter of Vader, Anakin, but we were told that Reva is being kept around because of a very specific skill set, and it's assumed that it's her mind reading ability, but she never uses it, and she can't penetrate the mind of an untrained child. I don't care who the child is. Reva is clearly strong in the Force. It's just one of those things where that part, and then the fact that she's like, oh, you're strong, and then just leaves it at that. Isn't the whole point of the Inquisitors to kill Jedis or to capture Force sensitives? Like, isn't that the whole point? And like, she could sense that she's strong in the Force, and it's just like, oh, you're strong. You're strong. You're getting me fired up. I'm getting fired up here. Reva also decides to not read Tala's mind. It's like one of those moments where they're having this conversation and Reva could tell that she's lying, but she can't tell if she's lying for her or against. How about you just read her mind and find out if she's lying for you or against you? It take 2 seconds, just jump into her brain like you did to the lying Jedi in like whatever episode that was. The convenience of when she's using it and not using it, I think it's dangerous, because it's just like, what is her strength? What is her power? When is she going to use it? She could have saved so much time. If she's so strong with her mind ability, why is she not using it in moments where she's trying to find answers? And especially when she knows she's dealing with a potential traitor who is lying. You just don't know what side she's lying on. It's just, I don't know. Like, just use your power and get some answers. This is one of the moments that I absolutely loved. I thought it was an absolutely dope scene. The lights go out. Kenobi's saber strikes. You see his blue saber lighting up the room. He takes out a couple stormtroopers, saves Leia. I really, really enjoyed that moment. I thought visually it was really cool. And again, we're starting to see Kenobi getting his groove back, getting strong with the Force. It's starting to come back to him as he's using it more and more. I very much enjoyed that scene. The escape begins, and we've got Obi-Wan running around with his saber. We've got Leia running with him by his side, and we have probably one of the worst scenes in the show where Tala just kind of bonks a stormtrooper on the helmet. What the hell is in these stormtroopers' helmets that you could just bonk them in the head? It's like Ewoks were able to hit them in the head, no problem, take them out. Like, get your helmets checked, y'all. It's kind of silly. Actually, I don't think that's the worst part. I think the worst part's about to come up. But I loved seeing Obi-Wan deflecting the blasters, getting stronger, like I said, with the Force, fighting and taking out the stormtroopers. He deflects a blaster shot into the glass where maybe they would have learned their lesson from Fallen Order, but the glass is very breakable. And so the glass is breaking, water is going to come in. He starts using the Force to hold it there, and he's getting stronger and stronger as this glass is getting closer and closer to breaking. And I thought that was another really dope scene. He lets the glass go, the water flows in, they get out, and then you see a bunch of dead stormtroopers just drowning in the water. I thought that sequence was really cool. I thought, just again, the more we get to see Obi-Wan getting back to being strong Obi-Wan, I think it's great for the story. I fully believe by the time this show's over, these last 2 episodes, I think he's going to be back to being peak Obi-Wan Kenobi that we know. He's going to whoop Vader's ass, and then that's where we're going to lead into the whole last time I left you, you were the master, I was the learner, now I'm the master, that whole situation. But I think we're getting there. I think we're building towards that moment. We're not getting all 6 episodes of a week running away Obi-Wan. Dude's gonna Hulk up, he's gonna fight, and it's just taking a little bit of time. And here comes the most ridiculous moment of the entire episode. On their way out, they put on some Imperial gear, and Obi-Wan's got a coat, and Leia's under the coat with him, hiding. This is like the kind of shit you see in like a Tom and Jerry fucking cartoon. I thought that was just really bad in the moment. It made me kind of chuckle as I was watching it on the first watch. The more I've let it like kind of sink in and think about it, it's just the alarms are blaring. You don't think people and the troopers and the Imperials are kind of looking around for something kind of fishy? That looked fishy. That looked very odd. But it is what it is. They end up getting away. And Vader storms into the scene. That was a really cool moment too. Just he was fucking pissed. He was angry. He showed up to the Inquisitor hideout and he Force pulls Reva, lifts her up, starts choking her. He should have snapped her head off. I think I saw a comment somewhere, like, when has Vader ever given someone the ability to kind of like defend themselves? Like, obviously he's released the Force choke because Tarkin told him to release one of the Imperials in A New Hope. But it's like, that level of fuck up, you would think people's heads would literally be rolling, but he let Reva go because she reveals that she planted a tracking device on Leia's droid. Okay. No one dies in that moment. I feel like that moment kind of solidifies the fact that there's no real explanation as to why Vader let Obi-Wan go, which I think that's an absolutely massive story hole. I think that's gigantic. And if there's no dialogue or anything to support why he just let him get rescued, I think that's going to be a big issue. I have my reasons for why I think, but it shouldn't be left up to the audience's speculation about why he let him go. I think the clear ones, he was weak, wants to beat him at his peak, he got help, wants to track him. I don't think he's scared of fire. He lives on Mustafar now. I think he's embracing the whole fire thing. I just think that kind of solidified the idea that maybe he just let him go for no real reason in particular. They're on the ship. Leia and Kenobi and everyone else is on the ship. They leave. There's a touching moment where Leia grabs his hand and they have a really good moment. But I don't know. Overall, again, I think there was some good and some bad. I feel like the bad in this episode were really bad. I mean, the hiding under the coat and trying to exit through a bunch of Imperials while alarms are blaring. I don't think that's great. Reva not using her ability in obvious moments is starting to annoy me a little bit. Obviously, this needs to prolong the story, and there needs to be a story told if she gets all the information. I don't know. I don't like that Leia was resisting Reva early on, and then Reva did nothing in counter till I'd be like, oh, hey, you're actually really strong in the Force. You're a Force user. Like, I get that Leia, as older Leia, also resisted Vader in A New Hope and was able to get through their tactics there, but we're talking about a child, a 10-year-old. I don't know. I just don't like the fact that she was able to power through that when, again, I guess it's just speculation and assumption by the viewers that Reva's got really powerful mind control, and maybe she doesn't, and maybe it's a lot harder than we thought. The Kenobi action I thought was great. I loved watching him get stronger and stronger and stronger with the Force, fighting and deflecting blasters, and he struck down the one stormtrooper and then he hasn't hit his pose yet, but he hit a pose. I thought that was really cool. He's starting to feel really good. The relationship with Kenobi and Leia, I love it. I think it's great. But on the flip side, I think it's almost a little too strong of a bond now. They've almost been through too much based off of what we see in A New Hope. That's probably one of my smallest nitpicks because, again, we'll see how it plays out. They could have a conversation talking about, like, hey, if you ever need my help again, refer to me as this. We'll keep it, like, undercover. General Kenobi. We're not going to, like, reveal our relationship or that. Maybe she gets her mind wiped somehow. Again, I'm going to hold my overall anger. I'm composing myself, and I want to wait and see how these last 2 episodes go. I think these last 2 episodes could salvage a lot. I think they could be great. 100%, I have a very bad feeling about this. I'm not going to lie. This episode kind of officially put me in that camp. I have a bad feeling about this. We'll see where it goes. There's not enough episodes, but there's just so many questions going into the final 2 episodes. Are we ever going to get explanation how Reva knew Anakin as Vader? Are we going to get the Grand Inquisitor back? I feel like there's a lot more questions going into these last 2 episodes, but we'll see. Overall, I enjoyed the episode because it was fun, but the problems are mounting and they're growing, and there were a lot of bad things in this episode.
Last Jedi 2.0, this show has been all over the place. The bait and switch is happening right in front of our eyes. They have missed the mark with Kenobi and Anakin. Just my opinion.
I don't know if there's like a bait and switch going on, because like even though there's other stories going on, the focus is still on Kenobi. It's not like Book of Boba Fett where he was absent for 2 episodes. Like, the story is being progressively told with Obi-Wan, which I think makes total sense. Again, it goes back to what we were introduced to with him at the beginning. He's weak, he's older, it's 10 years past, living in the harsh desert. He has no strength in the Force. He has been using the Force because strategically he's not, because he needs to protect Luke and not have his cover blown. I think that's probably my favorite part of the story at this point, with the exception of what we've seen from Vader. I think the slow burn growth with Obi-Wan getting back into the swing of things and getting his mojo back, I think that's been a really strong part of the story. And I think we're just building to it. I don't know what people were, again, I always talk about expectation setting. Sometimes that gets myself into trouble. I love setting expectations. I think it's a lot of fun. But I don't know what people were expecting. Were they expecting like a Avengers Endgame when Thor gets the hammer and he's like worthy and he's got the electricity flowing through his body and he's like ready to fight, like it's just a snap of the fingers? Like Obi-Wan pulls out his lightsaber, he's gonna be peak Obi-Wan? Like, is that what people were thinking was gonna happen here? I don't think that's the case. They're obviously telling other stories around his story, which is fine. I don't feel like it's completely taking away from him, which is what I would consider a bait and switch. There's obviously a lot of Reva, and it is what it is. But the Leia relationship, I feel like, is big. Obviously, canon is basically broken with how much time he spent off Tatooine and spending with Leia. And again, it makes for a better story overall, just having him going off-world to go run these other missions. I think it's working in terms of the Obi-Wan aspect. I know there were a lot of expectations built, but it's kind of playing out. The moment we saw him the way he was in episode 1, I think it works.
Whether we end up loving or hating it, it is still a blast to talk about Star Wars. Steven, do you think you will react to Bad Batch Season 2?
That is absolutely a fact. The fact that we get to talk about Star Wars is probably the best part, because I love talking about it. I could talk about it for hours, whether I love it or hate it, regardless of what end of the spectrum it falls on. I absolutely love talking about Star Wars. I could back up all my negative thoughts. I don't ever try to be too toxic about shit. I let people have their opinions and express them as long as you can express them. Because I'm going to express why I like stuff and why I can't. I'm going to back it up with as much explanation and history and studying as I can. And if there's more to learn, I'm always up for learning more. But it's definitely one of those things where talking about Star Wars is fun. It's the best part. And it's unfortunate that stuff does get a little heated, but it's It's kind of the way it goes sometimes. And to answer the question about the Bad Batch, probably won't do reactions. I think I 100% want to do watch parties at the release. But yeah, we'll see about that.
If Disney does a solo TV show, they should get your Solo Sucks rant as the theme of the show. Lol JK.
Warning, Solo Sucks rant. Warning, Solo Sucks rant. Warning, Solo Sucks rant. Warning, Solo Sucks rant.
I think it's the worst Star Wars movie ever created. Miles, I am 75% sure that Reva is a spy and not actually trying to help the Inquisitors. That would be horrible. Not saying that you're wrong, but I think that would be horrible. So she might have reasons for her behavior that will be revealed at a twist at the end. I'm fine with a mystery why she's behaving so weird so far. People are too harsh without having seen all episodes yet. I'll take back if the show is over and we still have no clue, but so far I will be patient and enjoy the show. Yeah, I'm being patient too. I'm doing my best. It's just, she's right under Vader's nose as a spy for the rebellion or the Jedi Satan. Like, no, that would make Vader look like a fucking idiot. That would bother me a lot, actually. Just like if Reva, jumped into, Vader's brain to find out that he's Anakin. If that's the truth, I will lose my mind. The idea of the story wouldn't be horrible. The idea that one of the main Inquisitors under Vader's control would be able to play him like that would be horrible. That would do damage to Darth Vader as a character.